Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Joining me today is Loraine Martinez Bellamy, who's a life and business coach, leadership mentor, and practicing attorney who helps ambitious millennials build Plan B without burning down Plan A. With 13 plus years in civil litigation and consumer protection law, Loraine builds sharp legal strategy and grounded clarity to her coaching practice, guiding lawyers, leaders, and creatives as they navigate expansion, reinvention, and meaningful impact. Loraine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I sound so important. And I was like, I don't remember writing that, but I like it. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ashley.
Of course. I would love to start off by having you share with our listeners more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, I actually just got off of a call with a new client who's a small business owner, and part of what we were talking about was the things that are missing in her business in terms of like standard operating procedures, some of the legal things, and also some of the mindset stuff that was coming up with her as a owner of multiple locations of like a local business. So a lot of what I do is it's kind of like niche only because it's me. I'm a lawyer. I'm a civil litigator. I've done that for 15 years. So I always have my lawyer hat. Even when I'm coaching, I'm thinking about gaps in people's businesses and their legal documents and things like that. But what really brought me to coaching and what really is I'm most passionate about is helping people expand beyond kind of what they decided maybe when they were 16, 18, 20 years old was going to be their career. As a millennial, I feel like a lot of us are multi-passionate and we didn't really grow up with I mean, some people did. Some people had entrepreneur parents, and that's such a gift. But a lot of us, I grew up, I'm a first generation immigrant. I was born in Puerto Rico, and raised in Connecticut, now live in the Boston area. But I grew up with parents that had very stable jobs, and that's what they did. And they didn't really stray from that very much. So I remember probably 5 years into my legal career, having like this feeling of like, I feel like there's something else or more I should be doing. But I had also all the sunk costs of having paid for law school, done all this schooling and all of that. And I was like, I can't really like ditch all that to write or like blog because blogging was like big back then.
Mhm.
But I still feel like there's something else that I want to do. So I help people kind of follow that calling on their life of like, it's not that I hate my job or that I want to leave my career that I've worked really hard to create and the lifestyle and salary that comes with it. But I do feel like there's something else missing. And I love helping millennial, mostly women, kind of follow that little thread and see where it leads them. For some people, they'll start a business. Some people will start a podcast. Some people will write a book. Some people will just realize that they need to like tweak some things about their life to really optimize. And I think our generation is very much into optimizing things and probably doing too much. Sometimes I feel day to day I'm doing too much, but that's I like it. I like it. So I'm multi-passionate. I love working with other multi-passionate women.
Oh, absolutely. And I love what you shared too from your own experience because I feel like I say this so often just to like my business friends and even non-business friends where I feel like as humans we're not meant to do just one thing our entire
Mhm.
life. Of course there are people who do want to do
Mhm.
that and that's amazing, but for the people who do have multiple interests and passions and ideas,
Mhm.
it's like I don't think we should try to force ourselves into this one box and limit ourselves when there's so many different things that interest us and that we want to think about pursuing.
Yeah. And I remember Ashley and I connected a long time ago in the olden days of Instagram, probably like in 2018 when we had both started our businesses. And you started so young. Like you were
Yeah.
like, I remember you were fresh out of college and you were like, I'm doing my own thing. But most people don't have kind of that courage or that drive or that desire.
Mhm.
So I also remind people that it's like just because you're interested in this other side thing doesn't mean that has to become your whole career or that now has
Right.
to replace like all of your salary or it has to be like the one thing you focus on. But I do feel like we were conditioned to think that. So a lot of people won't even pursue or get curious about what they're being called to because they feel like, oh, but like, am I going to leave my whole legal career to go do this thing? No, like just take a couple
Right.
steps, see, dabble in it. You may not even like it, but at least you've checked that off and kind of scratch that itch.
Totally. And I also feel like too, just with like the different projects that I have going on that sometimes like taking a break to focus on one project, like stepping away from Dash to Social for a few hours to focus on
Hmm.
another project and switch gears, ends up giving me ideas and clarity on things like Dash to Social. And like
Yeah.
you just get inspiration and things from when you're doing something that has nothing to do with your
Hmm.
business. It kind of like gives
Yeah.
your brain a moment to breathe.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like sometimes your different skill sets meld a little. They kind of like combine. I remember when I first started coaching, I started bringing a lot of my coaching techniques into my legal practice, especially when dealing with opposing counsel, which can be contentious. Like it can,
Mhm.
I mean, I always tell my lawyer clients if they're stressed, it's for a reason. We're like one of very few careers where we're in an adversarial situation every single day. I always say I'm either ruining somebody's day or somebody's ruining my day. But even in those interactions, I brought a lot of my emotional intelligence and the skills that I've built as a coach into dealing with people, and it has made practicing law so much more enjoyable,
Mhm.
or at the very least, like tolerable. Like I have like no conflict with opposing counsel, and I'm able to bring kind of like a groundedness and a calmness into our interactions that spreads so that it's very, even though we are adversarial, it's very collegial and we have a lot of respect for each other. So your different interests can impact each other and kind of enhance, like you said, one can enhance the other.
100%. And coming from you as a multi-passionate person, I would love to hear what your like aha moment was when you realized that you wanted to pursue a second passion and also how you knew it was that you wanted to be a coach.
Yeah. So I probably I always tell people when you're like heading into 30, like if you feel like, what am I doing with my life? That's like the time where you should feel like, what am I doing with your life? I'm 41 now, but I remember right after I turned 30, like I always say, as an eldest daughter of immigrants, I had this checklist of things that I probably created when I was 17. And I was like, here's how my house is going to look like. Here's what my husband's going to look like. This is my career, my friends, my travel. Like, all these things. And the funny thing is, like, whether consciously or not, I kind of checked all these things off. By the time I was 30, my husband and I lived in Connecticut. We bought this beautiful house, renovated it. We had a great group of friends. I wasn't a parent yet. My husband was a young dad, but my stepdaughter was grown. She just graduated high school. So we were just like very much like, what now? He wasn't. I was like, what now? Because you create these checklists in your mind and you have the haves and you're like, check it off. And then you're like, I never stop, pause to like reset the checklist along the way. So I remember feeling even then, 5 years into practice, that I was like, there's something else that I want to do. But there were so many kind of thoughts standing in my way. One, the thought that I had to pick one thing over the other, that I couldn't do multiple things was a big one. Also like, the prestige and just like the accolades that come from being an attorney, the respect that you get. I was like, I don't really want to leave that. So for like a couple of years, I just meandered. I remember reading a lot of different books, listening to podcasts, and just like talking to other people that had switched careers and still feeling like I wasn't quite ready.
Mhm.
And then unfortunately, but fortunately, I think I was 32. One of my best friends passed away very suddenly and very suspiciously to this day. And she had moved to Las Vegas. She was like kind of living the dream out west. And I don't know if you have a friend like this, Ashley, but like my dreamer friend, like the friend that I'd be like,
Mhm.
here's what I want to do. And like she'd be like, she'd egg me on and she'd be like, here's what I want to do. I want to go here. I want to travel here. So we were that person to each other. So when she passed, I felt devastated, but also this pressure to like live fully because it was an unexpected, death. And I always tell my clients that like those big life events, as painful as they are portals. I think of them as portals in our lives where it's like everything becomes so clear. What's important becomes immediately clear to you, but you have to move fast. Like you have to make those changes fast. So whether it's the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, a divorce, like I think all of those big life events give you a short window of opportunity to reassess how you're living and to enhance and like live more fully. And I think it also gave me courage that I hadn't had up till then, to be like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I'm alive,
Yeah.
I'm healthy, I'm young, I don't have like any like huge responsibilities. I should just give it a go. Um, And by then I had kind of been immersed in some of the coaching world, not very deeply. I don't think I had hired my own coach yet, but I had started noticing that it was like up and coming and it was very much aligned to how I felt as like an oldest daughter, where I felt like I had been coaching women my whole life. I've always been like a girl's girl with like a big group of friends and a good head on my shoulders. So I was just like, I think I could coach. Like, I'm gonna give it a try. And there was this part of me that's like the good student, that was like, okay, now you need to go get certified and do this and that. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna put it out there to my friends and community and see if anybody wants help, like job searching or
Mhm.
switching careers or something that I felt very qualified to help people with in the moment. And that felt also solid to me because going from being a lawyer to like taking on this like side hustle of coaching, which felt very fluffy to me at the moment, I was like, I'm going to do something solid, like career coaching. And I think I put it on my Facebook business page, RIP to those. I mean, I guess some people's are still getting engagement, that I just put up like it's such a cute video. I still show it to my clients to this day when they're like, but you're so far ahead. And I'm like, no, everybody has a day one.
Mhm.
Little janky video of me in like my dining room talking about coaching and just like how I could help people. And I got 5 clients from it. And I
That's
mean, I probably,
amazing from
yeah,
one video.
I probably charged them like $100 for a month of coaching, but that's neither here nor there. But it got
Yeah.
me like out of the, what do they call it? Where you start the race. Like it got me out of there and I was like, let me just see if I like it. And I had
Mhm.
such a great time that first month, like coaching 5 people. They got awesome results on what they wanted to do. And then I was like, oh, I love this. I'm gonna keep going. And I got certified down the line, but I coached for a while without just based on my lived experience. And obviously I'm a lawyer, so there's a little bit more ethical, know-how
Right.
and duties that I already have to my clients. But it was a fun start. Like I didn't overthink it. I was like, just give it a try and loved it. And to this day, it never feels like work to me.
Oh, I love that. And so with that, in addition to being a coach, do you still practice as an attorney and therefore have your own law firm, or is it kind of branched under one business? Would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I work for a nonprofit in Connecticut. I live in Milton, but I when I moved during the pandemic and I'm a foreclosure defense attorney and I do mortgage litigation and all of that is mostly remote, still in Connecticut. So I was able to continue practicing from Massachusetts, in Connecticut. So I work for an amazing nonprofit organization, and so I practice through them. And then through my own business, I offer coaching, but I also offer like business consulting and legal consulting to my clients that I'm working with. Most of them are in Connecticut, so I'm able to kind of walk them through like the basics, right? Like I never wanted to be like a lawyer for businesses because I'm like I want to do something different than being a
Yeah.
lawyer. But if I have coaching clients that are like, how do I start my LLC, or like how do I set up like a succession plan or like an SOP for this or that, I can bring kind of that knowledge into the room,
Mhm.
that they wouldn't have otherwise if I just didn't happen to be a lawyer too.
Oh, absolutely. And so with that, I'm so impressed that you have both roles that you juggle. And with that, how do you juggle that? I always love
Yeah.
like having guests who have, again, multiple passions and multiple
Yeah.
things going on and just picking their brains about time management.
Yeah, I sometimes meet people that do even more than me, and I'm like, okay, no, but how do you do all of that? So several things. I just went back full time to my nonprofit, but for the last 3 years, I've been part time at the nonprofit, so that's allowed me some time. My son is in school full time now, which is helpful. He's in kindergarten, so that's given me some time during the day. And I'm also like very good at saying no to things. Like I decided early on that like these were the things that I was passionate about and where I wanted to be present.
Mhm.
It's hard to get me involved in additional things because I'm very clear on my boundaries and like my energy and like what my nervous system needs day to day. I also always like give credit to my husband and how supportive he is. He's an entrepreneur as well. So he understands like we're both very supportive of each other and I call us like we're interchangeable parents. So we both do everything.
Mhm.
There's not like this like demand on my time. That's not something that he can take on if I need him to. So having that supportive partner that understands business and understands like ambition has been a blessing. and doing work in my 9 to 5 or more standard work that I'm very passionate about. It's consumer work. It's like I call it God's work. So even when I'm tired, I still feel like I'm making such a big difference in people's lives through my legal practice and through my coaching practice that I'm still like fueled to show up for it. But I'm very good with boundaries. Like
Yeah.
you can't guilt trip me into anything I don't want to do. Like I'm very much like a hell yes or no
Yeah.
person. And I coach my clients on really getting clear on what they value in this season of life because that changes also day to day. And this season of my life, I'm very focused on my career, my business, and my family. And anything beyond that is like icing on the cake. So I have friends that like my law school best friends, we meet quarterly and we all live in different states. So it's like very set ways of connecting with people. Whereas in my 20s and early 30s, I'm like at happy hour, or I'm like meeting these people or going on this trip. Now I'm very intentional with like how I use my time. And I check in with myself probably quarterly on like, am I feeling like I haven't connected with my friends or my husband or my child or my work? And making it a point for the next quarter to be more heavily focused on that thing. So yeah, heavy boundaries, but also lots of intention and alignment with what I'm valuing in this season of life.
So many good things here that I want to repeat because I feel like you just shared like so much gold for our listeners.
I should have warned you, Ashley. I'm a yapper.
No, but it's all good. I mean, I think you gave a really good suggestion about, I'm going to call it like an audit,
Yeah.
but like doing a
Yeah.
personal audit like every quarter. And exactly like what you shared, your priorities shift potentially throughout the year or throughout your life. And so being able to check in and say, and what I'm doing right now serving that bigger goal or that bigger purpose, that bigger intention that I have? And if not, it gives you the time to like recalibrate and get back on track. So I love that you shared that piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also very much focused on my well-being
Hmm.
because I just feel like as moms, as women, we're kind of the engine of our home.
Hmm.
So I'm very good about being like, I need to sleep more, or I need to like go, I need a break, or I need to do this. And again, having a supportive partner is probably the most important part of the whole key of the whole key of the whole making everything work is that he's very much like, whatever you need. Like, what do you need? Go do it. I'll handle everything else so that you can be 100%.
Absolutely. In addition to that, what you brought up about having like really clear boundaries with yourself and others, which I think is
Mhm.
huge, especially for newer business owners to remember when we want to be everything to
Everywhere.
everyone at the very beginning. It can be really hard, but as you shared, like being able to draw those clear lines, I think is really
Hmm.
important for your growth, success, mental health, all of that stuff. And so
Hmm.
I know you shared that's something you help a lot of your clients with. Could you talk about like some advice or just general tips for getting started with being better about setting boundaries for yourself?
Yeah, I think what I see with my clients is I have them start very small because usually if you have loose boundaries or you have a problem setting boundaries, you have some people-pleasing tendencies. And unfortunately, people-pleasing tendencies come from our childhood, like pre 7 years old, based on what I've learned. So it is protective mechanism that has served you very well, probably for most of your life, and then becomes a problem in some season of life where you feel like you're being taken advantage of or you're burnt out because you took on too much. So I have my clients start very small with releasing the people pleasing habit and kind of figuring out again, which area of your life do you feel overwhelmed in right now? Is it like for a lot of my clients is like the mom of it all, like the many invisible tasks and tabs that are open as moms. And even though I feel like as a society, me referencing my partner, we have done our best to even out like household and family tasks. I find in my own friends and clients that the doctor's appointments, the sports schedules, the lunches, there's still a lot of tabs that are mostly moms handling it. And I don't like if you love that stuff, like do not let me convince you that you need to outsource it. But I want to know from my clients, what are the parts of what you're doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, monthly basis that you love and you want to keep for yourself and you want to be excellent at. And
Hmm.
I don't care if that's like your business, and I don't care if that's like the bake sale at your kid's school, like that's so personal. And what people want to be excellent at in this life is so very much based on their own experience as children and their own experience growing up. So I never judge. Like it's like
Hmm.
whatever you tell me you want to be excellent on, I want to support you in finding more time for you to be excellent at that. And what that looks like is creating boundaries and saying no more, starting with very small no's, even like being able to, rather than say no, say, let me think about it. That's like a nice stepping stone for a lot of my clients. It's like if you get invited to a party or a vacation or something that you're not really sure about, or maybe you know you don't want to go, but you don't want to hurt the person's feeling or you feel like you're going to be rejected, then just say, let me think about it. Let me get back to you and give yourself space to make the decision from a more grounded place and check in with your partner or your family and then come back to them, having given yourself space to think about it.
Hmm.
That can even be like a nice stepping stone, or just start to say no to like, oh, do you want to grab coffee on Saturday morning? Like something very small
Yeah.
with someone you trust that you feel like is going to love you, whether you say yes or no, and then grow from there, like grow the muscle
Mhm.
from there of being very clear about where you want to put your attention. And then going back to like the excellence, the other component of it is I coach my clients to be more mediocre in more places in life, which can be controversial when you're coaching very high achieving women. But what I mean by mediocre is two things. One, I don't know. Like I like my child's snacks being 100% clean is not like my ministry. Like I go to Costco, I try to like look for nutritious things, but I don't really care that much, probably because I'm a product of the 80s and 90s where we were eating like Kraft mac and cheese every night and
Yeah.
we were fine, right? So, and we're eating Pop-Tarts for breakfast and like Fruit Loops and things like that. So for me, I'm okay being mediocre in like the like snack selection because I just don't care that much. And then
Mhm.
I can use that little bit of extra energy to like spend time reading with him in the evening. So finding where are you okay being meh and where do you really want to excel and like be intentional about? And I think what you'll find is that for some of us, we've decided we want to be excellent at all of it. And
Yeah.
then we wonder why we're so exhausted. And it's like, but you don't really care about all of it equally.
Hmm.
So apportioning energy based on the level of care that you have for that particular part of life is like so good for so many people. Releasing yourself from like these excellent standards when you really don't care. I think about it like when we were in college and it's like, I really want to ace this class, but I don't really care about that one. It's just a prereq. I just need to get a C to like pass and move forward. I think about it in that same way of like starting small to exercise the no, and then
Hmm.
also keeping an eye on where your time is going and seeing if it's aligned with what you really care about.
I love that. And especially the point about like just starting small and with people that you trust who aren't going to hold it against you if you say no. I mean, especially it's a good reminder because I feel like for me personally, if I want to say no to something, I'd be like, I have to have an excuse. Like I have to have an actual
Right,
reason why I can't go.
right,
And that's not
right.
true. You can just not want to go or not want to do something.
And some people are so good at just being like, no. And you'd be
Yeah.
like, why can't you make it? And they're like, I just don't want to go. And like, they're
Yeah.
not even gonna come up with a lie. And that's like extreme, right? Like, if you're a people pleaser, the thought of that is too much. So, starting with the, let me think about it, let me get back to you, let me check with my partner, like, that gives you a little bit of buffer time to be like, to get your courage up to be like, no, I don't want to do this. And then you'll get
Totally.
better at just saying no.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And going back to the multi-passionate piece of your life and also how you support so many millennials through that as well, is a lot of what you're sharing to me sounds like it really resonates with the idea of a portfolio career. And I feel like for me
I love
personally,
that concept.
yes.
Oh my God, I
I
love
like
that.
didn't know or didn't really like hear what that
Mhm.
was until probably honestly a year or so ago. And I feel like it's becoming more and more popular. And for our listeners who aren't familiar with it, it's the idea of like you having more than one income stream. So like you might have a
Mhm.
full-time job, but you also might like freelance, or maybe you're a bartender, maybe you're a fitness instructor. Like you just have all these
Mhm.
different things that you do. And I think it's amazing. And I think it totally relates and resonates with what you've been talking about of just like being able to explore the things that interest you.
Oh my God, I'm gonna share that with my husband later. He's gonna love it too. Yes, like I feel like one, it's very, I feel like indicative of our generation in
Yeah.
general. Like we had our hands in a lot of different pots for good reason because of how expensive life has become too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I have a portfolio kind of lifestyle because I have this very, very plan A career, and then I've created this business. And my husband and I also do a lot of real estate investment, both like as like silent investors, and my husband flips properties as well. So it's like we definitely have multiple streams of income, but mostly because of our multi passions.
Yes.
So it kind of came as a result of that, but it is very much attuned to what's needed in this economy as well.
Definitely. And one thing I'm wondering, and hopefully I portray this correctly, but I feel like sometimes people who have multiple passions might worry that people view them as, oh, you have more than one job, you must not be making enough money at your sole job or whatever. And
Yeah,
you need to have all these different things to help make money and
yeah,
bring in income. And that more often than not is not the case. But
yeah,
I would love to hear if that's something you've experienced with your clients or even yourself and like how
yeah,
people can get past that feeling like they need to prove themselves to people who
yeah.
just don't really understand.
I saw that a lot in the coaching industry,
Mhm.
because there is this pressure to like leave your job. And I think one angle that has connected me with a lot of my ideal clients in the past is the fact that I always say I don't hate my job. I actually feel like the work that I do as a lawyer is like really important work in this world.
Mhm.
But like, it doesn't address all of my different interests. So I love writing. I love connecting with people. I love like mentoring people. So I found an avenue to do that through coaching. But I do agree that there was this like pressure. I never felt it because I actually never went into coaching thinking I wasn't going to be a lawyer anymore.
Mhm.
And that could have just been like, I don't know, my academic eliteness, like at that, well, like I'm not going to leave this whole career to be a coach, but a lot of people feel pressured um to show that their coaching business is making enough money for them to leave their 9 to 5. And I always say I love having two salaries. I mean, as long as
Yeah.
you're not burnt out and you're able to have the capacity to do it, it creates so much. Like when the economy was tanking and like everybody was losing their jobs last year, I was like, I'm so happy that my work is very much HUD funded through the government. So we were
Yeah.
concerned that when we have lost our HUD funding, but we had all these reserves and we had planned for in advance because we do very controversial civil rights, consumer protection work. So we knew that if there was a difference, with the administration, that we would probably lose funding. Um, but we had guarded against that. And even me within my individual life, when that happened, I was like, it's possible that I could get laid off if we
Mhm.
lose like all of our funding. But I was like, oh, that's so exciting that I can just spend more time in my business. And then this year, it was kind of the opposite. I had a lot of personal things going on that took me away from business, and like I continued coaching my clients, but I didn't have the energy to market and like be out and about how I usually am. But I was so happy to have like a stable job where I could just show up and do my normal work, and I didn't have to be like that visible on social media or otherwise to bring in an income. So I loved having the balance of both, and I never felt pressured from one or the other to have to leave. But I do feel like there is this like feeling of like, oh, if you still have a 9 to 5, then your business must not be successful.
Yeah.
Or if you need a business, then you must not make enough money in your 9 to 5. And I have always thought about it as like just like how you do in your portfolio of investments. It's you're hedging your bets, right? And if you
Mhm.
have the skill set and the time and the energy and the desire and passion for more than one thing, why not, right? As long as
Yeah.
the rest of your life can fit into kind of the time and the energy that you have, I think it's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And I love what you shared about that point about one of the many benefits of having two roles is just like that protection against one another if the uncontrollable would happen, like
Hmm.
something that you have no control over or
Yeah.
factors outside of your realm. And I imagine it takes kind of like the pressure off where you're not like, I have to make this one thing
Yeah.
work. Like it's okay if one thing might
Yeah.
ebb and flow as you shared, like because you have
Yep.
other things that you're investing in and spending your time in.
Yeah, and a few years ago when I went part-time at work, it was because my business was growing and I was
Hmm.
loving the direction it was going in. And I was just feeling very crushed for time in my personal life. So I was like, if I can like recoup 10 hours a week where, for whatever else I need, I know I'm going to feel better physically and mentally. And sure enough, and my theory was that if I had 10 more hours just like away from work, that I could have 5 extra hours for my personal life and 5 extra hours for my business, and I could double what my business was bringing in, for those same 5 hours that I left at work in my business. It could be doubled or tripled or quadrupled just based on that effort. And it was true. Like the years that I did it, I was able to kind of bring in more through the business and also feel less crushed in my personal life to have a little bit more breathing room. And I think for parents also, it's like even if you just have an hour where you can either decompress before you start your workday after drop off or decompress before pickup after you finish your workday, like that makes a huge difference because I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen all those different reels on Instagram where it's like left my 9 to 5, started my 5 to 9, because it's like parenting is a whole other part of the portfolio in terms of your energy and time. And now when I think about before I was a mom, I was like, I thought I was so busy, and I was busy. I did a lot. Oh, but it was a different kind of busy.
Yeah, for sure. And for anyone who's listening to this episode who's like, Loraine has inspired me. I want to pursue a second passion. Like, what advice do you have for them for getting started? Like, maybe they know what that passion is, but they don't exactly know what they want to do with it, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, I always say, well, I'm a researcher at heart. And there is a point where I'm going to tell you stop researching and start doing things. But I love just inviting people that are doing what you're doing to a coffee chat, even if it's on LinkedIn, if you connect with them, because all of us, I mean, most of us, especially me, and now I'm deeper into my career, I get so excited when like young law students like hit me up and they're like, I see you went to Maryland and UConn undergrad. And I'm like, you're the only person on LinkedIn that went to UConn undergrad and then went to Maryland for law school. Can we have a Zoom chat so I can pick your brain about the difference between the campuses? I'm like, these kids are so genius. They're like finding the exact person that's going through exactly what they're trying to decide. And LinkedIn and Instagram search algorithms are so that you could literally find that person. So think about what you're curious about and just ask the person a coffee. It could be a Zoom coffee, it could be in-person coffee if they're local. People love to talk about themselves and their life decisions, and a lot of us also love being mentors to other people that are trying to find their way. And if you're more introverted and that seems like too much, like starting to listen to podcasts or, pull books or something that from people that are doing it, start to kind of, you know, dip your toe in whatever
Yeah.
way feels comfortable to you in the moment, and learn more about it. Even like conferences or events or classes, like community college classes is what I used to say to my clients. Sometimes it's like it's a few $100s. Like if you hate it, like at least and you've only spent a few $100s. I think all of those are great ways to just like, and so many people share on YouTube their stories too. So like searching on YouTube for like people that are in your Reddit. Reddit has
Oh,
like anything you
yes.
could ever think about, any thought you've ever had, like 10,000 other people have had.
Yes.
So doing kind of like crowdsourcing research that way would be fun. My favorite
Yeah.
way is to have coffee with somebody that's doing it because
Yeah.
it's so inspirational.
Yeah, those are great ideas too, especially you shared like both the in-person and online aspects and
Hmm.
options for people as well to pursue. Great
Yeah.
suggestions there. And one of my favorite questions to ask our guests is what their favorite local businesses are to support. So I'm curious to see what yours might be.
Yeah, in Milton, I love Navara. I like so when I moved here, I went there and I was like, this seems kind of like uppity. And I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be my vibe. And then I tried the food and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. Like everything I've ever had there, like it's like totally worth whatever hype it has. I love it so much. And what else do I love locally? Oh, I love all the Yellow Doors tacos. The
Yeah.
I started the Lower Mills one because it's close to my house. But then recently I went to the one close to what is over there? The South End. In the South End with like everything was delicious there too. I love Barcelona because the original Barcelona started in Connecticut, not far from my house. That's also in the South End and it's delicious. Yeah, those are my jams.
Amazing. I love it. Loraine, this has been such a fun episode, and
Mhm.
I've so enjoyed having you come on the show. And I would love to have you share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mostly hang out. I'm actually on LinkedIn now, much more than I used to be, but
Amazing.
my original home is on Instagram, and my handle is lo.martinez.bellamy. And feel free to DM me there and say hi. I'm on LinkedIn if you want to connect there as well. And then my website's lorainemartinez.com, and it's one R in Loraine.
Perfect. And I'll include those places in the show notes that really listeners can easily connect and find you from there. Thank you so much again for coming on this week's episode.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Ashley. This was so much fun.